we present our legal framework review, focusing on the three critical pillars of our justice system: Republic Act 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, the Chain of Custody Rule, and the Republic Act 7483. RA 9165 serves as the backbone of our nation's fight against illegal drugs, laying down not only the definition of prohibited substances but also the penalties for possession, trafficking, and use. It empowers law enforcement agencies such as the Philippine National Police, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and the National Bureau of Investigation to conduct operations aimed at dismantling drug networks while also mandating rehabilitation program for drug defendants. Yet, as strong as this law is on paper, its effectiveness in practice depends heavily on the integrity of evidence and the procedures followed during operations. This is where the chain of custody rule becomes indispensable. The rule requires that from the moment evidence is seized, it must be properly marked, inventoried, and documented with every transfer recorded and witnessed, ensuring that what is presented in court is the same evidence taken from the crime scene. Unfortunately, recent jurisprudence has shown that lapses in the process, such as missing signatures, failure to secure required witnesses, or delays in turnover, have led to the dismissal of otherwise strong cases. Courts have consistently ruled that even the slightest break in the chain of custody creates reasonable doubt, and this doubt often results in acquittals, not because the accused is innocent but because the evidence has been compromised. Complementing these laws is RA 7483, which governs lawful arrest, search, and seizure. It ensures that operations are conducted within constitutional bounds, protecting both the rights of suspects and the admissibility of evidence. However, operational missteps, such as misapplication of warrantless arrest, rules, or improper search procedures, can render evidence inadmissible, again weakening the prosecution case. Taken together, these frameworks reveal our troubling gap. While our laws are robust, their implementation falters at the operational level. Law enforcement officers, driven by the urgency of apprehensions, sometimes neglect the meticulous documentation and procedural safeguards required by law. The result is a justice system where offenders walk free not because of lack of evidence, but because of technical lapses. This undermines public trust and frustrates the very purpose of our legal framework. To address these challenges, we recommended capacity building through continuous training of law enforcers, the development of standardized operational manuals aligned with RA 9165 and RA 7483, and the integration of technology such as digital evidence tracking systems to minimize human error. Accountability mechanism must also be strengthened to ensure that lapses in procedure are not tolerated, but corrected. In conclusion, our review highlights that the strength of our legal framework lies not only in the laws themselves, but in their faithful execution. RA 9165, the Chain of Custody Rule, and RA 7483 provided a solid foundation, but unless operational procedures are aligned and strictly observed, justice will remain elusive. It is our collective responsibility to bridge this gap, to ensure that the fight against illegal drugs is not only aggressive but also legally sound, and that every case brought before the court stands firm on the twin pillars of evidence, integrity, procedural, and compliance.
Process mapping and legal matching. In our process map, we match legal provisions to operational stages, surveillance, and arrest. RA 9165 mandates lawful procedures including proper documentation and witness presence. Evidence handling. The chain of custody rules requires inventory, labeling, and signed receipts. Prosecution. Both laws ensure that evidence remains admissible and credible. However, in recent Supreme Court rulings, cases were dismissed due to broken custody chains, such as unsigned receipts or missing timestamps. These gaps shows how fragile the process can be.
In 2024, over 30 drug cases were dismissed due to procedural errors in evidence handling. One case involved a missing inventory receipt, which led to the acquittal of the accused. This highlights a systematic issue. Officers may lack training or resources to follow strict documentation. The law is clear, but implementation is inconsistent. These failures not only weaken prosecutions, but also erode public trust in law enforcement.
Strategic recommendations and ethical insight. To address these issues, we propose mandatory refresher training for officers on evidence protocols, use of digital tracking system for custody transfers, clear SOPs aligned with legal standards. Ethically, law enforcement must uphold transparency and accountability. Strategically, these reforms can reduce case dismissals and reinforce the credibility of the justice system.
In conclusion, our legal framework analysis revealed that while the Republic Act 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, and the Chain of Custody Rule provide a strong and well-structured foundation for drug-related operations, present operational gaps continue to challenge their effectiveness. These laws are robust in design, clearly outlining penalties, procedures, and safeguards. Yet their success ultimately depends on how faithfully they are implemented on the ground. What we have seen in the recent jurisprudence is that even the slightest procedural lapse, whether in the documentation, witness presence, or evidence handling, can determine the integrity of case and the lead of acquittal. This reality highlights that the law itself is not the weakness, rather, it is the human element of compliance and the discipline that requires reinforcement. As these gaps, we emphasize the importance of strengthening documentation practice so that every step in the chain of custody is properly recorded and verifiable. We also underscored the need for the continuous training and law enforcement forces, not only in the technical procedures but also in a ethical discipline, ensuring the operations are conducted with both efficiently and respect for the constitutional rights. By the integrity this improvement, we can bridge the divide between the legal theory and the operational practice, hereby ensuring that justice is not only the procedure but constantly achieved. With this, we extend our gratitude to the panel for your time and attention. Your insight and feedback are valuable to us as we continue the refining our approach to the legal compliance and drug operation. We welcome your guidance on how we can further improve because it's only the true collaboration with the lawmakers, enforcers, and the judiciary that we can close the gaps, uphold justice, and ensure that our legal framework truly serves its purpose.